The map suddenly unloading, loading screens soft locking the game, scrambled vehicle icons. All these are indicators that you are experiencing the big glitch. It is the second most crazy bug of Just Cause 3, and it has been a mystery to the community for a long time. Until now. What could make the game just stop loading in new assets entirely, which ultimately causes the entire game world to fall apart? Well, I am proud to announce I've figured out what causes this, and even made a mod to manually trigger it. And it really isn't anything too crazy. So let me show you everything we know about this strange glitch. The basics have been known for years. No matter what you're doing in the game, this bug can just show up at complete random. You may not immediately notice it, but eventually you will realize that no new terrain can load in, because you simply fall through the ground. But it's not just terrain. Bases, outposts, cities, enemies, and vehicles are equally affected. The only thing that remains are assets that were already loaded in before the glitch was triggered. If you travel far enough, the world will be nothing but a low resolution looking mess of low quality assets that you'd never get to see this close up. Even the map screen no longer loads in high resolution versions of the map when you zoom in. Things can still unload, however. If you leave the area of the map that was loaded in when the glitch activated and come back later, you will find even that is now unloaded. One other thing this glitch does is scramble item icons in the rebel drop menu. Some cars now have weapon icons, and other items don't have any icons. This is the one thing about this glitch that I cannot explain. And if you remember the intro where I said this is only the second craziest glitch, and you wonder what's crazier than this, then you should watch this video next. But the lakes. Yes, those still load in with this glitch active. That's because they don't actually load in while playing. They're always loaded in. The game has so-called global assets that get loaded in when the game starts. These files never unload or reload, and the lakes are part of those. That's why they're still here. Same goes for the road layer. So what causes this to happen? Well, it's probably a lot simpler than you think. But before I can explain that, I need to quickly explain a little about how Just Cause 3 works. Don't worry, it's really quick, I promise it won't put you to sleep. Entities, so vehicles, characters, weapons, and props in the Avalanche engine, at a very basic level, are made up of two files. An EE file and an EPE file. EE file is a file archive, kind of like a zip file. A file with more files in it. It contains the basic building blocks of the entity, like models, textures, effects, and stat files. The EPE file gets loaded at the end of all that, and just takes all the stuff and assembles it into, say, a car. Locations and missions work in a similar way, but with different file names. But what if we told the game to load an entity that does not have an EPE file? Well, we get the big glitch. It seems the game will forever try to load that entity, but since there is no EPE file that completes the spawn, something locks up and prevents anything else from loading in. And by using this method, we can now trigger the glitch whenever we want. Which is what I did for this mod, you can see now. I simply click this button, and now it's active. If we travel a bit, we can clearly see it worked. So, does that mean there is an entity or location somewhere in the game files that doesn't have an EPE file? I highly doubt it. Avalanche's developer tools would likely not let them do this. At least not without a million different warning messages. If there was, people would have discovered a somewhat reliable way to trigger the glitch every time, since there would be an area where it is a lot more likely to trigger. But nobody has found anything like this. Then how does it happen? My guess is that you get a similar effect when an entity or location doesn't properly load, or perhaps doesn't load in time. Since the EPE file gets loaded last, there is probably some window of opportunity for something very similar to happen, if something screws up while loading. Case in point, the Just Cause 3 multiplayer mod. You can do a lot of crazy stuff here that you can't do in the regular game. One of those things being traveling really fast. And guess what? The big glitch is a lot more likely to happen in multiplayer, if you do just that. You can zoom around the world map so fast to a point where the game has to just be overwhelmed and something, somewhere, has to load in properly. I've wondered if speedrunners perhaps experience this glitch more often. So I asked in the Just Cause speedrunning Discord, and surprisingly, most of them have never encountered it, or very rarely at most. As it turns out, the speedrun route requires a lot of fast traveling, so it seems reloading the world regularly can prevent the glitch from appearing. All that said, this should also answer the question of can you fix it? No, it's just too random and not caused by something in the game files, but the game itself. Your next question might be, does this also work in Just Cause 4 or Just Cause 2? No, at least not in the same way. I did remake this mod in Just Cause 4 and it simply did nothing at all. Seems like someone at Avalanche also found this and fixed it for Just Cause 4. However, something similar to the big glitch still exists. While working on the Just Cause 4 Unlimited Edition mod pack, I made a nuke launcher similar to Just Cause 3's. While messing around, I obliterated a wooden bridge and quickly moved away from it, and when I returned, it wouldn't load back in. In fact, nothing would load back in, just like it does in Just Cause 3. However, I was not able to replicate this, no matter what I did. So clearly, something similar to the big glitch still exists within Just Cause 4, but the conditions to trigger it are different. Perhaps this time it's got something to do with overwhelming the physics. Who knows? As for Just Cause 2, this simply crashes the game. And that would be everything for this video. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.